hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Viz. Today we have a very special guest, Luke, who is here to talk about his very unique Viz called A Tale of Two Atoes.
Hey, I am Luke Abraham, Tableau public ambassador, and yes, this was a pretty simple makeover Monday Viz comparing potato and tomato production in the world, going back X amount of years.
Looking at the Viz, it's not exactly your traditional Makeover Monday submission because it has like a story embedded within it. From what I've read in the Viz narrative, you talked about aspirations of being a video game developer, a movie director, a writer, having midlife crisis and getting into Tableau public. How was that whole journey like for you?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to go way back for that one. The video game, movie, writer things were my early years of life dream job scenarios. It was like, I like video games, I'm gonna make video games. I like movies, I like writing. And I guess those were the things I was passionate about at the time. And then as I got older, I went to college. Writing was a big thing I realized I loved. So that's kind of the one medium I've carried with me since that I like to incorporate when I can. When I started doing Tableau, a lot of it was just your typical Makeover Mondays. Here's the data set, kind of like your one sheet. Then as I got a little more comfortable and I saw the long form vizzers other people were doing on Tableau Public, and I thought those were just really cool. And I realized it was a good format and structure to type away a planned narrative or just see what comes out. It was kind of my style for a bit.
You do have a lot of long form visualization.
I do. I know. I think I've gotten too used to them now. Like I'll open up a Viz and I'll be like, let's make this bad boy 10,000 long. And if we need to reel it in, we can. How I approached this was the starting point right here. What's the first thing I can get people to see when they look at the Viz? And so I spent a lot of time designing this because I feel like once I can nail this intro part or what it looks like in the thumbnail on your profile, that will give an idea of what the vibe is going to be for the entire Viz.
That's an interesting thought because based on some of my past guests, what they usually do is try to sketch out a narrative or plan out different parts of the vizzers before going Tableau. But for your case, it's all about having that centerpiece or to shape that design inspiration for the entire Viz itself. It's really interesting. Everyone has their own different style in approaching data visualization.
Yeah, it's rare that I will wireframe or storyboard beforehand. It's usually me jumping in and being like, okay, what does the data look like? What pictures can I make with the data? And I was just thinking of something funny I could do with that. And Tale of Two Cities came to me. So my idea was going to be like a cityscape. I made a city with a bar chart. How clever. I could have just done the pun and stopped there with the title. Then I was like, I can totally try to milk this for all it's worth. Let's actually lean into the novel and see if we can take out chunks or quotes from the book and have that be a guiding force behind the structure and how I transition to each section. And then I think what sealed it for me was the looming tomato image. In my mind, it was like functioning as a sun or just kind of something over the city. But once I had these elements down, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. I'm committed enough to see where this Viz actually takes me.
I love that you pointed out the tomato because you actually have an image of a potato right at the bottom as well.
Yeah, I actually didn't have that at the beginning. This was one of the things I did toward the end because in my mind, I was like, I can't just have an image of a tomato and not throw a potato in there somewhere. And so I had read this book in high school. I barely remembered the basic storyline, but I did a little research on the book to figure out how can I find facts to pull from this book that will make my job easier. When this book was first released, it was published in chunks. It wasn't all published at once. So that's where you get the book the first, book the second, book the third. And so I split this into 3 sections, with each section being like the when, where, why. When do I create? How do I create? And so on. At the time, I hadn't been vizzing as much as I was like my first year. So it was kind of me acknowledging the creative struggle I sometimes have when I make this stuff. And sometimes I have no idea what I want to do. I don't think I could have sat down and made this one ever. I was just at a point where I was like, oh, I haven't done anything for so long, but I still don't really have anything to talk about, or I don't want to research something new to make a new viz just on my own. It just came out as I started doing this.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the best stories you can tell are the stories of your own. And I think within this entire viz, probably it's also about you discovering yourself, and it just flows out into the viz.
Yeah, definitely. But getting all of this thought in one space and putting a framing around it was really cathartic in a way. Even rereading this piece here, I run into this a lot, and this is sometimes why maybe I won't publish as much as I used to. I have no passion for the history of tomatoes and potatoes. So sometimes if I just don't care about a topic, I'm not going to set aside X amount of hours and do something with it unless I find that hook. And in which case with this one, I did.
I think that's an interesting point of view as well, because for newcomers to the Tableau community, many of them start with Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, and it's a rite of passage to gather your technical skills in Tableau. But you reach a point where there's not much to learn past that threshold. You really need to have a topic that you feel very strongly about to ignite a flame within you to this.
No doubt. Yeah.
For example, I just published one this morning on how food is represented in video games. Why do you care if 1,000 different variety of food is represented in Zelda?
Yeah.
Right? But it was
Right,
kind
yeah.
of like a fun topic there. I was like, this looks interesting. I don't know if anyone is going to care about it, but yeah, I care.
Exactly. No, that's the point I've hit a lot with a lot of these things. You talked about the rite of passage. So when I first came on to Tableau Public, I was one of the people who immediately dove into Makeover Monday. I think I did maybe like 40. So I was putting out like one a week, sometimes two a week. But they weren't all gimmicky long form. Sometimes they just were like, here is a nice way to present the data. Now it's at the point where I like having an audience, but sometimes I'm the primary audience. I have to really care about the topic, even if I don't think anyone else cares. If I don't care, I guess I can't expect anyone else to care.
The last paragraph kind of hit home for me, the legacy that you leave behind. Do you have kids?
I do. I have 3 kids.
So I think when you're a parent, that thought always lingers in your mind. Like, what legacy are you leaving behind for your kids, for your family?
Yeah, in that regard, it all started with Iron Viz a few years ago, where art was the topic. And I wrote about people in my family who have died and my dad who had died that previous year. I think sometimes in these long form vizzes, where if I make it personal, it ends up coming back to mortality and, like you said, my kids. And in this case, at the end of the novel, one of the main characters is on his way to be executed, and he talks about the future of France and how he's sacrificing himself. Basically, in his head, all these great things are going to happen to France. So I kind of played on that. I framed it like I've done all this talking. I've explained to you my text, my chart. This is the life of the viz so far. I'm not going to change what I've done. So it's reaching its end. I'm going to publish it regardless. And now I see this future for the viz where it gets all these likes, it gets a viz of the day. And then I kind of exaggerate about, even after I'm gone, this is going to be something I made a part of me. And my kids by my grave talking about how this is like some big thing. I wanted it to be kind of funny, but also serious too, and still play into that Tale of Two Cities motif that you see throughout the viz. But I had fun writing that part.
This is really great. I love the entire narrative of it. The first time I read the first paragraph, I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's not your usual Makeover Monday. And it gave me a window into your creative process and also get to know you more as a person. And that's really interesting because, like I said earlier, the best stories you can tell are stories of your own. And everyone has different life struggles, stories, and experiences that they can share with the world.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree too. I'm always intrigued by the creative process. So that's another reason I had fun making this one, because I feel like I rarely see the steps people go to come out with the end result. Like, I'm always intrigued by the drafts people show of stuff they've done and how it started looking nothing like the end result.
I guess it's also the curse of social media as well, because everyone just wants to portray the final product and anything that's polished, and nobody really wants to talk about the entire process and the troubles you go through to get.
Yeah, I'm assuming everyone goes through that. You see so many end result fizzes and you're like, God, everyone's so damn good. But even just talking to people, you realize that's not real. I mean, everyone hits that wall in the creative process. And sometimes it's just luck, I feel, at least in my case.
So just branching off that, do your ideas come from looking at a certain form of data, or you have this idea and you go and look for the data, feed this idea?
Rarely will I actively have an idea and want to go search out the data. I'm lazy in that regard when it comes to Tableau Public. The more data that can be supplied to me, even forcefully, like Makeover Monday back to Viz Basic, and just hope that something clicks with me. I think the first viz I made was my fertility rates viz with the little sperm images for each country. And that just came about because fertility rates was something I had never had any interest in. Honestly, I still don't. But I had seen a lot of radial charts and people doing cool things with radial charts. And I was like, what real life image does that remind me of? And for whatever reason, one of the first things was like a sperm and egg. So I was like, ooh, that seems like something I want to do. I found the fertility rates data set and it made sense to me. So I just went from there. But yeah, I was happy with this one. This turned out way better than I thought.
Yeah, and it has come a full circle, because like in your last paragraph, you talked about it having a viz of the day. Eventually, this got a viz of the day. So it paid off.
I know. I even slid the what a visionary thing in there because this was recently after they changed it from Zen Master to Visionary. So if that ever happens, I can also point to this as credit too. But,
it's always a starting point.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Luke, for spending time this week with us on Secrets of the Viz. I had a great time chatting with you on your creative process, getting to know you more and how you design your entire narrative. Recently, you won the Data Story Extraordinaire Vizzer Award, and you're the best person to win it, because if you look at your past vizzes, every viz has a very strong narrative structure, and I love just looking at your vizzes.
I got pulled back into the video game, so that's taking up my free time again.
What game are you playing now?
I recently started Xenoblade Chronicles.
I love that game. The storytelling is so great.
I'm in awe at just the scope of it is insane. And I think I'm actually most impressed by the voice acting. Usually I'm indifferent toward dialogue if I have to read it or if it's a character talking, but it just sounds so damn good. I'm impressed by the presentation across the board. So I'll probably actually stick with this one and see it through. I'm not too far in, but I'm having fun playing it. Yeah.
Easily a 100-hour game. I played 2, I played 3 as well. So that's like 300 hours of gameplay. And it's a whole trilogy of everything is interlinked. So if you start on the first one, you have to finish the entire.
I know, but I don't know. If it stays good throughout, these first 8 hours I put into it are any indication, I'm on board.
What's your favorite all-time game?
My favorite all-time game. It used to be Planescape Torment. I will say that. Just because I thought the story was so good. And that was the first game I remember playing where it was like weirdly emotional for me. I wasn't like, oh, but it gave me goosebumps, and I think I played it when I was in middle school or early high school. But recently, the one I always will recommend is Journey. That's another thing where it's just like music and art and all that stuff coming together, because there's really no talking whatsoever. Other than that, Diablo 2. That's my gamey game. Click things, watch numbers go up.